Hey everyone, welcome. This is C Busy Media, Faith and Love Trends. I'm Irene, and we're talking about one of our favorite reality shows here on this channel, 90 Day Fiance. This particular episode of the season 90 Day Original is episode 10. Where did our love go? Well, as you guys know, 90 Day Fiance is a reality show that follows couples. One person's from the US, the other from another country. We get to see their ups and downs. We see long distance issues. We see language barriers, cultural boundaries, and the whole ramifications of trying to marry in another country, all the legalities, and moving to another country, becoming a citizen. The K1 visa is 90 Day Fiance. All right, so with Shekinah and Sarper, they are off to Montana to meet Shekinah's family. Sarper has to redeem his bad boy image from the eyes of the family. So when they get there to Montana, she's like, it's way different than LA. She can only be there, like a couple weeks at a time. The vibe is super conservative. When they get off the plane, there's like a moose head on the wall, and Sarper doesn't know if it's a moose or a goose. I think he called it a goose, and she said, no, it's a moose. It's kind of funny and kind of cute how Sarper's just making these little comments. It's like a kid in a candy store, like being in these different environments that he's never been in before, making these funny, goofy comments. She kind of lets us know her family. She grew up kind of in an Amish-like family, and then they ended up becoming more conservative, but they kind of still lived off the land, very rural type lifestyle, and everybody's surprised that she came from that, because you can see how she now has like a lot of the cosmetic surgeries, and she looks like she's trying to be a Barbie doll from LA or something like that. But no, this is her background. So I guess they get into their spot, and they're putting on their cowboy and cowgirl hats. It was very cute that they were both wearing a cowboy and cowgirl hat. She's saying it's so hot, giving me a little bit of old school Paris Hilton. She loves the hats. And Sarper just keeps saying, yeehaw, yeehaw, yeehaw. I thought that was funny. She loves horses. They go on a horse ride, and these particular horses are therapy horses. They help you get rid of anxiety, stress, depression, and all of these things. And it's a good preparation for Sarper to release his anxiety, because he's about to meet these sisters, and he doesn't know if they have it in for him, or they probably do. Anyway, he's never ridden horses before, so he thinks that it could affect his manhood. And as she kind of saying she likes to ride horses, he has to turn it dirty and talk about other things she can ride. Turns out Sarper is really good at riding. He's very patient with the horses. The horses like him. He's gentle, non-aggressive approach. He's hoping that he can use this approach when he meets the sisters, but what they keep saying is he has to prove himself. So the big day comes, and she keeps calling the big day. He's like, no, you're making me nervous. Please stop calling it that. It's building up the nerves. So it's time for Sarper's redemption tour, is what he calls it, and 3 of the sisters meet up with him, along with one of the sisters' boyfriends. I think her name is Shariah, the one that he really made very upset when they met. They're walking in there looking like a posse. They do also look like they're wearing like cowboy, cowgirl hats, but they have like a LA goth looking chic. I don't know. They just have a vibe, and they all do remind me very much of Shekinah. And when he sees them, he's like, it's Shekinah times 3. He's right. They even sound alike. I thought her voice was fake. All of her sisters sound exactly like they're from LA, little Barbie doll girls. Don't know how they got that voice, but they all look like they left the whole Amish vibe and they all look like they could possibly be hairstylists, models. A couple other ones look like they got some work done on their faces as well. So they look like they could do something. They look like they could have their own reality show possibly. But anyway, uh, they start to talk. Everything's good at first when they greet. Um, the topic of cheating comes up, and is he kind of like for being controlling and all the things that were issued before? Because Sarper was stupid controlling, and it was, to me, I really didn't like him, the way that he was talking about her weight. So they're like, also, do you just take him as his word? Do you trust that he's not with different women? She's like, yeah, I basically trust him. And I'm like, okay, I actually trust him too, kind of. Like, from the point from the last, I think, tell off from the last season that they were on, Sarper looks like he really changed his ways. And at this point, I don't know how much cheating he's doing trying to learn this new country, at least here in the US anyway. Um, is she being naive? The sisters are really trying to take up for her because they say they know her vibe. And he's like, well, I'm doing the best I can. She's putting her best in. It's a balance now, things are better. We're basically both doing the best we can. Then he says something dumb about her being like a geisha. Is she like a geisha girl? And then she kind of explains that basically because he doesn't have to ask, she serves him all the time. So then it brings up that male chauvinist, misogynist vibe that Sharper was giving us previously as he's talking about that. He's basically messing up pretty bad at this point. Once that door opens, he says some other comments that just take us back to the old Sarper, and he's like, everything's moving so fast, and he's just saying too much. He needs to hold it back. Um, and I'm like, I'm not liking it, and I don't think the sisters are liking it. So Sarper, I don't know how you're gonna fix this. All right, Mina and Mark. So last time we saw that Mina's going to meet Jade because Mark's friend Diana basically dropped a bunch of bombs on her about his ex Jade and still having connections and some different things that happened. So they meet at a nice outdoor restaurant. Uh, when she comes up to Mina, she hugs her, even though I don't really see a resemblance. They're saying she's taken her place and she's kind of a lot like her. Don't see much of a resemblance, just that they're both women of color, but they greet each other kindly. She clears up that she did break up with Mark because he was moving to Boston, and that was really the main reason. But they're both nervous to be talking because she's the ex, of course. They don't really know how to navigate these waters. Was he seeing them both at the same time? And Jade says she believes that she kind of was the one that got away. She says that to the camera, not straight to Mina. But she tells her there's really nothing to worry about when it comes to her because she's happy in her new relationship. They haven't reconnected or did anything like that. He calls or texts and checks on her sometime, but there's been nothing romantic going on. Especially since he's met her and starting to talk to her. Nothing really has been going on between them two. She does tell her about those messages that Diana was talking about. So Diana wasn't lying about the messages. To me, I guess she said he was talking to an old friend and how he was going to take this old friend out to these different places, assuming it's an old female friend. So she was just uncomfortable that while they were sitting in or laying in bed together, that he was texting other people. And to me, it does seem a bit sus. But it doesn't sound like he's outright was getting down with these people. I don't know. maybe it was a friendly chat, a little bit too friendly, I would feel some type of way about it. But it didn't reveal like he was like globetrot cheating, which is what I initially thought. So Mina expresses her issues with the family, and Jade agrees that you do have to watch out for the family, watch out for the mom. They're like a little bit too much in Mark's business. They talk about the prenup a bit. Um, and Jade just says basically, yeah, it's gonna be a long road for you to connect with this family. Either they like you or they don't. She said after hearing all that information at Diana's shop, she got confused and mad, and she thinks she bought too many items there. And Jay's like, oh no, honey, it's never too much. She said she spent about $1,000. She said, yeah, well, you could have spent about $2,000. So they like each other, they bond, they vibe. And when she gets back, Mark's like, how'd it go? Do you trust me now? And for Mark, he's disappointed that she had to go to such great lengths to, meet Jade and all of that. But I said it was Diana's fault. She's the one that spilled all these beans. It's not like she just did it out of nowhere. And Mina's like, well, your family is too involved. There needs to be some limits and all of that. He's like, okay, I'm going to work on that. I know I care about my family, but yeah, I'm going to work on the limitations of my family has when it comes to us. He's like, well, do you trust me? He keeps asking her that. And she's saying, I'm good. And they start smooching. And then little Maria's like, I want some smoochie too. So she's over there trying to get their attention, tapping on their legs. It's really cute. And they pull her up and give her a family kiss. It was a good moment. But for me, she didn't really address him talking to the other person. I would like to know a little bit more about that if I was in her shoes. But overall, it wasn't a bad meeting, and hopefully everything works out for these two. I think one of the biggest hurdles is going to be that prenup situation, because I know it's going to come right back up. All right, now, so we check in with Maddie and Stevie. They're creating videos together. I assume that connect with language and learning all of that, because that's kind of how they first connected. And he's like, well, we're doing first connections. It's making me think, since I'm gonna try to do the surprise engagement, it's kind of going all full circle, and this is a perfect moment. But he's like, well, honey, pack and dress casual, got a surprise for you. She's nervous about the surprise. There's 3 days of driving to California, and I'm like, oh, I gotta drive 3 days. For me, that would just be a deal breaker at this point. Like, can we find another surprise? Can you drive me? Can somebody else drive me? I'm not driving 3 hours. I'm not a driver person, guys. I'm not the best driver. So for some reason, they start getting to an argument. She says something about, I'll leave you there. It's like, if we don't know where we're at, I'll leave you there, or something like that. Because she's like, you're going to have me driving randomly for 3 days. And he said, well, okay, well, if you leave me there, I'm going to go back to Iran. She gets upset and says, don't leave me. And they have a little tiff there. Well, he's like, you said you were going to leave me, so I was just making a joke. I just had to bite back. I wasn't really that mad at him. But anyway, he redeemed himself because they've now arrived at this place called Ocean Springs. This is one of her dream places. She's always wanted to go, so she's impressed. Looks like they have a nice Airbnb or whatever those accommodations are. She apologizes, saying, sorry, I was mean to you. Thank you. And they're both like, I love you and all of that. And he's preparing to propose, and he's cringing over the idea of proposals. She sent him all these different proposal videos where the guy gets on the knee. He feels like it's medieval and cringe. I'm sorry, isn't he a traditional guy from Iran? I don't know what type of proposals they do there. I know it's not Americanized, but why does tradition make you so cringe? He sounds like, he is in his 20s. He does definitely sound like a modern man that, no, I can't get on a knee for a woman. What? Why not? This is the problem with people today. Anyway, they're walking through the neighborhood. She's like, are we lost here walking through this neighborhood? They end up at the beach. He makes this nice little speech and he's saying he's 100% sure about her. As they go to the beach and they get farther along, he's telling her to look. It's a nice display that says marry me with a heart. And he takes a knee and asks her to marry him. And in the distance, we hear some beachgoers cheer. Find out it's a group of yoga people. They cheered after she says yes. It was a good moment. It was a good moment. She said, Stevie's like, if the ring would have been enough, you very much went overboard, but it was a great overboard, and you can't leave me. Okay, you can't leave her now. Okay, I understand her issue when it comes to being abandoned, her abandonment issues, but the you can't leave me stuff kind of seems a bit desperate, even though he did say some stuff about his family going back to Iran a lot. At this point, the don't leave me stuff is kind of sounding a bit desperate, and nobody wants that. But it looks like a happy start, so hopefully their love didn't go anywhere, as the title of this episode reads. We now go hit up Greg and Joan. Greg is going on this job interview that he was telling us about. He looks decent, but not like he's going to a job interview. But it is for plumbing and carpentry and things like that. I believe he says a government job. So maybe it's okay. Maybe because he's going to be doing some hands-on type of work that's not office style. I guess the outfit fits the situation. He said this type of work is more in his wheelhouse, and he believes that he can do this type of thing. So they get a little kiss. Mom's like, okay, all right, that's enough. Goodbye. She sees him off. The mom, Lucille, she brings up a project for her to do. Match the big bin of unmatched socks. They have to match them. They talk about washing machines and clothes, and she's like, well, we have to hand wash in our country, and it can take multiple hours. And then they talk about her family coming up to the country for the wedding, and the process. They have to go through a similar process that she has to go through to come up there into America as well. So it's kind of tedious, so she's kind of waiting for the results on that. And Lucille makes a mistake of asking her, well, is everything okay? Is there some things that you don't like? And she said, do you miss your food and all that stuff? She said she misses her food. She misses the soul, the privacy. Okay, the soul? What do you mean, the soul of the African nation? Like, what does she mean by the soul? And the privacy definitely is the one that becomes the biggest issue. And she's like, well, you're always home. Also, you should go out more. She was kind of offended by that. She says, off to the sidelines to the producer, she says, Lucille is nice, but she's enabled Greg to live this lifestyle and stay here. So I think she's feeling that she's part of the problem and they need more. To me, I do think she has a point that she is the catalyst for why he stayed and why he continues to stay. But it's not 100% her fault. Once he became a man, he had choices, he had options. He didn't just have to stay there. So again, the way he was brought up, that's his mom. Of course, she has an effect on who he's going to be as a man, but I can't put it all on her. Lucille is a bit offended by her words of choice. She's like, well, this is my house, and I, am the head of the household. I'm basically taking care of you guys. She's like, well, yes, this is your house. You can stay as much as you want. It's like, oh, thanks. Thanks, Joan, for giving me permission to stay at my own house. Then Joan's like, we're the ones that are intruders. Okay, I guess, but the way she's saying it, really, do you have to say intruders? She says, hopefully we'll leave soon. And she said, oh, you'll be happy then. She says, yes, I'll be very happy once we leave. So Lucille's pretty much offended, and she's like, I'm going to talk to my son Greg about this. So when he comes back, mom's like, how's the interview? He said, it went okay, I think. I think I did a decent job, not really sure. And mom basically tells on Joan right away what she said about her. She wishes she wasn't around so much. So he apologizes on her behalf and says, I'll talk to her. She didn't mean it in that way. She's just like a straightforward, upfront person. And we just want to thank you for everything you're doing. I think he did a good job as a son of apologizing, but Joan may see it differently. So when he goes outside to talk with Joan, she's like, well, how do you think you did on this interview? You got a 100%. He was like 75, 80. Joan is like, not too good. And he's like 75. He's like, well, 80. If I was in school, wasn't be that bad. She's like, well, if I get an 80, I'm gonna have to make it up with like 5 100s or 5 90s or something, she said back in the school terms. You could see she's an overachiever type person. These two are totally opposites. How did they even, So when he brings up what she said to the mom, she's like, oh, I was just trying to test her patience and see what she was gonna say, and see what type of person she was. Not a good idea. It's other ways you could test people's patience, I feel. And she is pretty much blunt and straightforward. She tells us that. But he kind of says how he had to apologize and all of that. And it's like, well, you tested patience, you tested my patience. She said, well, yes, there are times when I will do that as well. Like, she has no qualms. She has no apologies. This is Joan. But she's upset that she doesn't have anyone out in the country out there, and then she lets us know a couple days before she was supposed to come. She wanted to cancel it, but she ended up not doing so. So she feels like she needs somebody on her side, and he needs to be it, and he needs to take her side over his mom. I disagree. She's being a little bit callous. I don't like her attitude when it comes to mom. I agree on some level, but you always respect mom. You always show love to mom. She did nothing. I mean, the mom can be a little bit forward with her thoughts as well, but not to the point, not to that degree that Joan is. And even then, you still do the best you can, have the respect for mom. It's just a thing that you do. And I don't know how it is in her country, but I feel like most countries have respect for moms. She's something else. She's a doozy. And this is what the life you're going to be looking at, sir. If you marry this woman, she's going to be hard on you. She's going to test you. So if you think you're going to have easy street, nice, soft like your mommy, you're getting the total opposite. And maybe that's what you need. Kick in the pants. All right, guys. Thruple, shall we? Or thruple not. We got the Matt, the Ani, and the Amani, and they're back on their way. I think they have more plans in Mexico with Ani. She's like, I have to go to work tonight, baby. I'm gonna make me some money. So it was kind of funny how she talks. But Amani's like, oh, she strips in the club, and I have Middle Eastern jealousy and possessiveness, but didn't you say there was some certain things Middle Eastern that you weren't vibing, but you're gonna still have some of that that's maybe not so good in your culture and bring that into this throuple? Then you shouldn't even be in a throuple anyway. If you want to bring your Middle Eastern culture into this, don't think you should. But anyway, she's like, she doesn't want any men touching her and all this. And then Ani talks about her exes bringing her daughter gifts and accepting gifts. To Matt is a red flag that she's accepting gifts from all these men. And they're like, well, your daughter shouldn't be meeting these men. It's like, no, they just bring gifts to the club. They've never met her. And then they start talking about the kids and like, well, do you talk about us to your daughter? And saying, well, the kids should know about each other because our kids know that you, Ani, are a special friend to us and like family. And they're like, she's like, well, it's kind of a difficult topic to talk about because what's a throuple, and it's kind of can be confusing for kids, and it's not a kid topic technically. So she's like, I don't really talk about you guys in that way. She's like, well, they're upset that she doesn't tell the kids about them, her daughter about them. And it's like, to me, I think she's kind of protecting her daughter. Everybody's not like you guys. You guys are a little bit extra, a little bit too out there to me. And they're like, well, we don't say anything about the throupling, but we just say that she's gonna be like a family member now, and yeah, it's a certain way you have to talk about it. But Ani is just laughing, and she's not serious about any of this. And they're like, well, you want a life with us? She's like, yeah. She's very like matter of fact, whatever type vibes. She don't love y'all like that. I'm trying to see why y'all don't see that. But anyway, I think Matt sees it. And he's gonna see it even more as we finish this chat about him. Because he ends up being the end of this situation. But anyway, they're going to meet the daughter, get to know her more. They bring her a lot of presents and stuff. The daughter loves her mom. As soon as her mom comes, she's jumping and hugging her. They do have a good vibe. Like the other time when she was like going over some school lessons with her, she was doing very well. I mean, it was very sweet. And like, I wish that this kid didn't know or didn't have to be in this scenario with this type of mama. I'm sorry. Because it's just complicated and messy to me. And I know some people are like, you're not progressive and we should be able to do whatever we want. But I mean, I'm sorry, I'm traditional. This is completely like off the scale for me. And this kids shouldn't have to be confused like this. So they bring in lots of gifts for her. Their daughters are around the same age. One of the oldest daughters around the same age as Ani's daughter. And they're showing pictures, and I was like, I wouldn't show my kids in this scenario. I'm sorry, even if you guys are very progressive in your thoughts on relationships, I'm not going to put my kids out there to be made fun of, to people make a spectacle out of them. This is private, and you guys can show your face all you want, but even earlier in the season, they showed them hanging out with their kids, Matt and Amani. I'm like, why are you guys showing your kids when you're in this type of situation? I call it a situationship. So they meet the daughter, they talk with her a little bit and say, well, we like seeing you with your daughter, which is what Amani says. You have a good bond with her, like seeing you be your mom. And so we're going to go now, and we know you have to go to work and all that stuff. So we're going to spend time with your daughter, so we're going to go. And Matt gets a better send off than me because like they both hug, but Matt gets like some pecks on the lip. I mean, she's pretty much more open with Matt than she is with Amani. Amani's like, well, I think like a man, because I want her to stop stripping when she gets to the U.S. and all of that stuff. And I don't know if she should be able to have that type of say over her in her life. She is acting like a man, a very misogynistic man. Now, I'm not into stripping either. I'm very traditional. That's not the lifestyle that I lead. But if it's her choice of what she wants to do with her life, it's her choice. And you really shouldn't be able to control that. Now, if she wants to get married, it's just like, if you want to marry somebody that's different, a husband and wife scenario, I do feel it's different. But whatever this throupling thing is, as another woman, I feel like she doesn't have the right to tell her what type of job she should take on or not take on. So Matt and Amani start talking. They're back at the place. And, he says, as far as Ani not telling people about us, she's kind of mysterious anyway. It seems like this is her vibe where she really doesn't tell people about other people in her life anyway. Who knows what else she's got going on technically. So Amani feels like it's time for her to confess and tell Matt what Ani said when they were having their big argument at the vineyard. Ani is more for her, that she says, than Matt. As far as relationship wise, their connection is stronger. That's what she's really there for. So he's like, okay, so do you like this? Do you want a separate relationship? She's like, no, I don't. But at the time, her favoritism worked, and it got me to stop crying. So the two of them begin to argue about this. And, he said, I need to sleep on this. I need some time to myself. So at this point, I'm ready to walk out of this. So he goes in the room, kind of slams the door. And she's like, I love you. I guess trying to make him feel better. But she knows she made him feel some type of way, made him feel unwanted by saying what she said. Then he kind of whispers, what'd I get myself into behind the door? Yeah, dude. At least somebody sees that. Armani still doesn't get it. Ani is playing both you guys. Matt, you're kind of messed up in the middle. The guy caught up in the middle. I feel for him, and I think he's the smartest one in the middle of the circle right now. Juan and Jessica, he makes mac and cheese for the sick boys. Well, I know one of the sons is sick, and he has to take care of the baby. So he makes the mac and cheese, and the son calls Jessica and is like, this is the horrible, disgusting what Juan made. I don't think he knows how to make mac and cheese. And Juan's like, they don't have box mac and cheese where he's from. He turns it into some type of weird soup, and then he kind of takes it and is like, it's not so bad. But the son disagrees, and he's off to the side calling moms, complaining, saying, Mom, get me a pizza. So when they come home, Juan's trying to cook some more. He's got asparagus and fish for dinner. And the son, I guess is not sick, comes home with her. It looks like she picked him up. And both of them are like, I don't know if I want this. I don't think they like fish so much. Then why do they have fish in the house? I don't know. But anyway, asparagus and fish, I don't even know if that's a good go together thing unless it's maybe salmon. Anyway, he's trying. It's funny. He's trying to be Mr. Mom. He's trying to cook in the kitchen. I respect that he's giving it a try. But at this point, he's like, honey, we need to talk. I don't really feel good about myself. I feel like I should be working. And, I'm overwhelmed. I don't feel like being Mr. Mom is like I'm doing nothing. And she's like, well, I'm sad and all of that. And he's complaining. She's like, well, you should, this is how I've been doing this whole time. So she's kind of upset that and disappointed he's being a little complainy, whiny husband. He said he hopes he feels better, but he's kind of being like a whimpery dad at this time and whining. And, I get that he feels his self-worth is partially connected to his job, but this is when you really need to man up. This shows what a real man is taking care of your kids and taking care of your family. You can do this, man. You can do this. She's like, well, I've been doing this. He's like, well, at least you still have your job too. Yet and still, you can step up and do what needs to be done. To me, I think you should have fun with it. You're a stay-at-home dad at this point. Make the best out of it. So they go out with the friends, and he's like, he really hopes that they don't question him like last time, especially Beth. No questions, please. She wants him to make up with Beth because she wants her to be in her wedding. I think she wants her to be the maid of honor. So she's hoping this goes well. So they go bowling. Everybody's hugging. To me, one of the friends, the young lady, hugs Juan a little bit too fast. To me, I'm like, no, don't hug my man. I'm trying to be honest here, but I don't even remember this young lady from ever seeing her before, even though I'm sure she was seen before. It's not a problem with hugging friends. It's just the way that they're hugging. To me, it can open some doors. And I don't know if this friend was coupled up. I think she may have been, but still, people swap couples all the time. Look at our previous throuple back there. So I'm sorry. I'm a little sus on Jessica's friends. Beth really is taking things so hard and personal. Then this other friend is hugging on my man. I feel some type of way. I do a little bit for you, Jess. When it comes to the bowling, Jess is better. She kind of throws it in his face a bit. Beth falls, and it was kind of funny when you fail, Beth. And Juan's like, she deserves that. I don't know if she deserved it, but it was funny. So Beth starts questioning again. She's like, well, what are you doing to prove to Jessica that you can be trusted. He's like, you know what? I moved all the way up here and I'm helping the family and all that. That's what I'm doing. I dropped everything to come up here. So then she has a follow-up question. She said, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm done. No more questions. That's it. I don't have to answer any questions for you. Agreed. You probably should have said that last time. Beth says, well, okay, well, I understand, but if you do anything else to her, I'll ruin you. He was like, ruin me? What is she threatening me? What is she gonna do? So they actually take it as if she's making a threat. Like, I'm sorry, Beth does look a bit unhinged on this episode. She looks tired. She looks very stressed. I don't know what's going on in her personal life, but Beth needs a little bit of help. Whatever the case, Beth does need to relax and get out of their business. And so Jessica stands up for her man again, and the situation is like, if every time we go out you're going to be questioning, we're not going to want to go hang out with you guys. So something needs to change. And I agree. So Beth, either get it together or go home and chill and rest. You need to do something. You didn't even need to be out there. You slipped on the bowling alley and it was a mess. Come on, Beth. That's all I can say. Beth is like the biggest story in their relationship. It's kind of boring. He's like Mr. Mom and he's not doing a good job. And it's kind of funny. Their whole situation is very suburban, funny, kind of cute. And their issues aren't really huge at this time. And I hope they don't get huge. I like their little story and I hope it stays small like that. And I do hope the best for them and that their marriage works out. And I really hope that Juan just makes the best of the situation. He's like, I don't know if I can do this forever. Man, you better try. You got to be the kind of person. I can't even say I'm that person, but just make the best of wherever scenario you're in. Have fun with it. Enjoy. Is there something else you can do? You can figure out. I mean, nobody wants to be at home with the kids all day, of course, but you can make the best of these moments in this time. You want to be a family man? This is what it looks like until you can get your job thing going. This is what you're going to be doing, sir. All right, so thoughts, comments, questions on this episode. You guys can always email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Episode was okay. Not a lot of great things happened. It was okay episode. We'll talk more faith, love, and trends. We're going to be talking other reality shows as well. When it comes to love, dating, relationships. Again, what would you guys like to see? To me, I'm over with Pop the Balloon. I'm just saying. What are you guys thinking? Love to hear it. Again, you can email me or comment below. And we'll talk again, guys. All the best. God bless.